When Dorothy was left alone, she began to feel hungry. She went to the cupboard and cut herself some bread, which she spread with butter. After having a bite to eat, Dorothy gave some bread to Toto. She then took a pail from the shelf and carried it down to the little brook to fill it with clear, sparkling water. While Dorothy filled the pail, Toto ran over to the trees and began to bark at the birds. Dorothy went to get him and noticed delicious fruit hanging from the branches. She gathered some, finding it perfect for her breakfast. After enjoying some fruit and water, Dorothy returned to the house. She felt ready to prepare for her journey to the City of Emeralds. Dorothy had only one other dress, which was clean and hanging on a peg beside her bed. It was a gingham dress with checks of white and blue. Though the blue was faded from many washings, it remained a pretty frock. After washing herself, Dorothy dressed in her clean gingham dress and tied her pink sunbonnet on her head. She took a little basket, filled it with bread from the cupboard, and laid a white cloth over the top. Dorothy looked down at her feet and noticed how old and worn her shoes were. "They surely will never do for a long journey, Toto," she said. At that moment, Dorothy saw the silver shoes lying on the table, which had belonged to the Witch of the East. "I wonder if they will fit me," she said to Toto. These would be perfect for a long walk, she thought, removing her old leather shoes. She slipped on the silver ones and found they fit her as if they were made for her. Finally, she picked up her basket. "Come along, Toto," she said. "We will go to the Emerald City and ask the Great Oz how to get back to Kansas." She closed the door, locked it, and placed the key in her dress pocket. With Toto trotting behind her, she began her journey. There were several roads nearby, but Dorothy quickly found the one paved with yellow bricks. She walked briskly toward the Emerald City, her silver shoes making a cheerful tinkling sound on the hard yellow road. The sun shone brightly and the birds sang sweetly. Dorothy felt surprisingly good for a little girl who had been whisked away from her home. As she walked, she admired the beautiful surroundings of this strange land. Neat blue fences lined the road, and beyond them were fields of grain and vegetables, indicating that the Munchkins were skilled farmers. Occasionally she passed a house where the Munchkins came out to greet her, bowing low in gratitude for her role in defeating the Wicked Witch. The Munchkin houses were round with big domes for roofs, all painted blue, the favorite color in this eastern land. Toward evening, when Dorothy was tired with her long walk and began to wonder where she should pass the night, she came to a house rather larger than the rest. On the green lawn before it, many men and women were dancing. 5 little fiddlers played as loudly as possible, and the people were laughing and singing. Nearby, a big table was loaded with delicious fruits, nuts, pies, cakes, and many other good things to eat. The people greeted Dorothy kindly, inviting her to supper and to spend the night with them. This was the home of Boq, one of the richest Munchkins, who was celebrating their freedom from the Wicked Witch. Dorothy ate a hearty supper prepared by Boq, the rich Munchkin himself. After her meal, Dorothy sat on a settee, enjoying the sight of the people dancing. When Boq noticed Dorothy's silver shoes, he remarked, "You must be a great sorceress." Dorothy, curious, asked, "Why?" Boq explained, "Because you wear silver shoes and have killed the Wicked Witch. Also, your frock has white, and only witches and sorceresses wear white." Dorothy corrected him, saying, "My dress is blue and white checked," as she smoothed out its wrinkles. Boq kindly remarked, "It is nice of you to wear that." As Dorothy stands among the Munchkins, they declare, "Blue is the color of the Munchkins, and white is the witch color." They believe she is a witch, but Dorothy feels confused and replies silently, knowing she is just an ordinary girl who arrived in Oz by chance. After watching the joyful dancing, Boq leads Dorothy into a cozy house. He shows her to a charming room with a lovely blue bed. Dorothy falls asleep soundly, with her dog Toto curled on the blue rug beside her. Dorothy enjoys a hearty breakfast, watching a small Munchkin baby play with Toto. The baby pulls on Toto's tail and giggles, much to Dorothy's amusement. The Munchkins are intrigued by Toto, as they have never seen a dog before. Curious about her journey, Dorothy asks, "How far is it to the Emerald City?" Boq replies seriously, "I do not know, for I have never been there. It is wise for people to avoid Oz unless they have business with him. The Emerald City is far away, and it will take you many days to reach it." She bade her friends goodbye and again started along the road of yellow brick. After walking several miles, Dorothy decided to take a break. She climbed to the top of a nearby fence and sat down. Beyond the fence there was a large cornfield. Dorothy spotted a scarecrow, high on a pole, meant to scare away birds from the ripe corn. Dorothy rested her chin on her hand and gazed thoughtfully at the scarecrow. The scarecrow's head was a small sack filled with straw, with painted features representing eyes, a nose, and a mouth. An old pointed blue hat, once belonging to a munchkin, sat on its head. The rest of the figure wore a faded blue suit, also stuffed with straw. It wore old blue-topped boots, typical for men in this land, and was elevated above the cornstalks by a pole stuck up its back. While Dorothy focused on the scarecrow's painted face, she was astonished when one of its eyes slowly winked at her. To Dorothy's surprise, the scarecrow then nodded its head in a friendly manner, acknowledging her presence. Dorothy climbed down from the fence and walked toward the scarecrow. Meanwhile, Toto ran around the pole, barking excitedly. The scarecrow, with a husky voice, said, "Good day." He continued, "I'm not feeling well because it's very tedious being perched up here all the time to scare away crows." Dorothy asked, "Can't you get down?" The scarecrow replied, "No, the pole is stuck up my back. If you please take away the pole, I would be very grateful." Dorothy reached up and lifted the scarecrow off the pole. Since he was stuffed with straw, he was quite light. Once on the ground, the scarecrow said, "Thank you very much." As Dorothy walks through the field, she encounters the scarecrow. He greets her with a bow, which surprises her since he is a stuffed figure. Dorothy introduces herself and explains her journey to the Emerald City. The scarecrow stretches and yawns before asking Dorothy about her destination. Dorothy explains that she is going to see the Great Oz, the one who can help her return home to Kansas. The scarecrow admits he is unaware of who Oz is and reveals his lack of brains. Feeling sympathetic, the scarecrow inquires if Oz might provide him with brains if he joins Dorothy on her journey. Dorothy encourages him by saying that even if Oz cannot help him, he won't be any worse off than he is currently. The scarecrow shares with Dorothy that he is not bothered by being stuffed because it means he cannot feel physical pain. This revelation brings a sense of comfort to his character. The scarecrow admits that he cannot feel pain, but worries about being perceived as foolish due to his lack of intelligence. Dorothy encourages the scarecrow to join her on the journey to see Oz, promising to ask for help on his behalf. He expresses his gratitude. With kindness, Dorothy helps the scarecrow climb over a fence, and together they set off along the yellow brick road towards the Emerald City. Toto shows distrust towards the scarecrow, sniffing around him as if he senses something suspicious. He growls at the stuffed figure. Dorothy comforts the scarecrow, explaining that Toto is harmless and does not bite. The scarecrow reassures her that he is not afraid. The scarecrow reflects on his nature, stating that Toto cannot hurt him since he is made of straw. "Do let me carry that basket for you?" "I shall not mind it, for I can't get tired." "I'll tell you a secret," he continued as he walked along. "There is only one thing in the world I am afraid of." "What is that?" asked Dorothy. "The Munchkin farmer who made you." "No," answered the scarecrow, "it's a lighted match."